Is the dispatch audio where the dispatchers talk about how there was no autopsy report.
So I did do the request. They emailed me back. He did not go in for an autopsy. The death certificate was signed by the doctor at the hospital.
Oh, okay. Can you just do a field clip documenting that?
I'm sorry, 10-9?
Can you just add a step to the case documenting that there was no autopsy?
Yeah, 287, I'll be clear to the hospital.
I need an officer with Timpanogos Hospital to come stage in the emergency room bay.
Jesse just told me that he just got off the phone and Charlie's wife is coming to signature and they're bringing a car over here for her right now.
Charlie's wife is coming to land at signature, you said?
Sir, and Jesse's going to go to Duncan right now and pick up a car for her.
Okay, I'm a little confused because that's what Corey just said. They said they were landing at Duncan, so I don't know where they're landing, but we will just kind of play it by ear, I guess, best that we can.
30 seconds. That's all it takes for water to start boiling, or for a piece of evidence to vanish forever. When the dispatch audio from the night Charlie Kirk was shot leaked online, it was supposed to bring answers. Instead, it brought more questions. Because buried inside that recording is a hole, a clean 30 seconds of missing time. And what comes right before that cut? A voice, a faint, almost whisper. They told us not to. Then, silence. And here's the part that stops me cold. Despite this being one of the most shocking and politically explosive shootings in years, there was no autopsy, no bullet trajectory, no wound photographs, no official report, just a death certificate. And so tonight, we ask the question that no one seems willing to answer. Why? Charlie Kirk was more than just a name trending on social media. To some, he was a defender of free speech, a young firebrand who built Turning Point USA from nothing and turned it into a movement that shaped conservative politics. To others, he was a provocateur, a polarizing figure who sparked outrage on college campuses, challenging students face to face and refusing to back down. Love him or hate him, there's no denying one thing. Charlie Kirk mattered. He was loud, he was visible, and he was changing conversations everywhere he went. And then, on the evening of September 10th, 2025, everything stopped. It happened at Utah Valley University, a stop on his American Comeback speaking tour. Students packed the venue. Phones were out. Protests gathered outside. It was loud, tense, electric, just like any other Kirk event. But then, sometime after 7:29 p.m., a single gunshot cracked the air. For a moment, no one moved. Then, chaos. People ran. Some hit the ground. Others screamed. Security rushed Charlie off stage as cameras kept rolling. Within minutes, police and EMS swarmed the campus. He was airlifted to the nearest trauma center. By 8:22 p.m., Charlie Kirk was gone, and America was left with 1,000 questions and very few answers. To understand what happened, we have to walk through that day, minute by minute. 6:38 p.m. Charlie Kirk steps onto the stage. Applause erupts. He's calm, confident, in his element. For nearly an hour, he fields questions, some friendly, some heated. Phones are up everywhere. Live streams rolling. 7:27 p.m. Security shifts uneasily near the edge of the stage. Multiple students report seeing a man pacing near the library, wearing dark clothing and carrying something long. At the time, no one thinks much of it. 7:29 p.m., the sound that would change everything. A single gunshot. Sharp, echoing. Students freeze. Screams follow. Chairs topple. Cell phones drop to the floor, still recording. 7:30 p.m. Security tackles Charlie Kirk to the ground, covering him. He's bleeding. They drag him behind the stage curtain and call for EMS. 7:32 p.m. First 911 call hits dispatch. We have an active shooter, one male down, neck wound. We need air support now. 7:35 p.m. Campus police lock down nearby buildings. SWAT team mobilizes. Officers report possible suspect on rooftop east of the library, wearing tactical vest. 7:39 p.m. Live scanners pick up police chatter. Suspect is moving, carrying long rifle, requesting additional units. Then, silence. Exactly 30 seconds of missing audio. When the feed comes back, the tone is completely different. Suspect is in custody. No details, no arrest location. Just done. 7:43 p.m. Paramedics load Charlie Kirk onto a medevac helicopter. He's still alive. 8:22 p.m. At the hospital, doctors pronounce him dead. In less than an hour, a high-profile political activist was shot, airlifted, and declared dead, and the suspect was caught. Fast. Maybe too fast. Just hours after Charlie Kirk was pronounced dead, law enforcement stepped up to the microphones to deliver the story the public would hear first. And for many, the story they would accept as fact. The suspect, they said, was 28-year-old Tyler James Robinson, a former student at the university. Robinson was described as a lone wolf, acting alone, with no known accomplices. Police claimed they recovered the weapon, a .30-06 Mauser bolt-action rifle, abandoned along a wooded path leading away from campus. Charges were swift. Aggravated murder. Attempted murder for allegedly pointing the rifle at a security guard before fleeing. Possession of a firearm by a restricted person. Authorities assured the public that the threat was over, the campus was safe, and there was no indication of any broader plot. Within hours, major outlets ran with headlines: "Shooter apprehended," "Political violence suspect behind bars," "Case solved." It was clean, it was simple, and it was fast. Maybe a little too fast. Because even as the cameras packed up and the story moved off the front page, something about this narrative didn't sit right. At first, the official story sounded airtight, but when you start picking at the edges, it begins to fray. The first red flag, the autopsy that never happened. Multiple FOIA requests, confirmed by leaked internal emails, revealed that Charlie Kirk's body was never sent to a state medical examiner for a full forensic autopsy. Instead, the attending physician at the hospital signed the death certificate, ruling it a gunshot wound, and that was it. No wound path analysis, no bullet recovery from the body, no time of death confirmation by an independent coroner. For a case this public, this politically explosive, that's almost unheard of. Then there's the dispatch audio. The leaked clip that first hit TMZ sounded routine at first, until listeners noticed a gap. Roughly 30 seconds of missing time. A clean jump in the waveform, like someone pressed skip. And what's even stranger, just before that gap, you can hear it, faint, but there. They told us not to. They told us not to. As FM, not to what? Not to say something, not to act. And we're not done yet. Eyewitness descriptions from students on campus that night don't perfectly match the suspect police arrested. Some saw a shooter on a rooftop. Others swore they heard more than one shot. The timing, the evidence, the silence, piece by piece, it all begins to look less like a closed case and more like a story carefully stitched together to hold back the real picture. First, the leaked dispatch recording, the very thing that cracked this case wide open for independent investigators. Audio analysts who examined the clip point to 3 critical issues. All. Continuity breaks. The file has a clean 30-second jump, confirmed by waveform analysis. That's not a glitch. That's an edit. Background noise shift. After the cut, the ambient sound, the hiss and static of a live feed, sounds different, as though we've jumped to another segment entirely. The whisper. Right before the gap, a faint voice says, "They told us not to." Audio engineers have boosted, cleaned, and slowed the clip, and the phrase becomes unmistakable. But here's the thing, we still don't know who said it, or what exactly they were told not to do. Video evidence. Then there's the footage. Multiple student cell phone videos and a few campus security clips were uploaded within hours. In several, a shadowy figure can be seen on a rooftop near the east side of the library, just as dispatch reported. But here's the problem. The man arrested, Tyler Robinson, was found on the ground, blocks away. His clothing reportedly didn't match early witness descriptions of the shooter's vest and gear. No footage shows him climbing down from the rooftop. Gaps remain. The transition from rooftop shooter to suspect in custody is never clearly captured on camera. Forensic evidence. This is where things get even murkier. The rifle allegedly used, a .30-06 Mauser, was recovered, wrapped in a towel. But here's what hasn't been confirmed. Ballistics match. No public report states that the bullet taken from Kirk's body, if one was even retrieved, was matched to that rifle. GSR test. No documentation shows gunshot residue was found on Robinson's hands or clothing. Trajectory analysis. Without an autopsy, no official wound path was mapped, leaving questions about where the shot came from and at what angle. It's like building a puzzle, with half the pieces intentionally missing. Every single piece of evidence that should lock this case down, instead, raises a new question. At this point, the facts stop and the theories begin. Because if the official narrative is airtight, why are there so many gaps? Theory 1. The lone gunman. Supporters of the official story argue that this case is exactly what it looks like. A disturbed individual brought a rifle, climbed a rooftop, and took one shot before being caught. The missing audio, they say, is just a technical glitch. The lack of an autopsy, a tragic but simple bureaucratic decision, made to spare the family additional trauma. If that's true, this is just a case of tragedy, not conspiracy. Theory 2. The botched investigation. Others believe law enforcement cut corners. They argue this was not an intentional cover-up, but a rush job. Pressure was high. The case was high profile, and they wanted it wrapped quickly to avoid public panic. That might explain. No autopsy, no complete ballistic workup, and pause, a narrative that was ready for the press within hours. But then comes the third theory, and it's the one that makes people uncomfortable. Theory 3. the cover-up. This theory says the 30 seconds missing from dispatch wasn't an accident. It was deliberate. That someone, somewhere gave an order that night. And the whisper, "They told us not to," was the clue that slipped through. Maybe it was to withhold details about multiple shooters. Maybe it was to protect the identity of someone on that rooftop who shouldn't have been there. Maybe it was to control the narrative before it reached the public. And without an autopsy, there's no way to confirm the bullet trajectory, the range, or even whether the recovered rifle was the murder weapon at all. Critics argue that this isn't just sloppy, it's intentional. And now, the people, when the cameras turned on, the officials, were ready. Within hours of the shooting, police and university spokespeople held back-to-back press conferences. They reassured the public that the campus was safe, the suspect was in custody, and that there was no wider threat. They praised the quick and effective response of law enforcement. They even shared images of the weapon allegedly used, laid out on a sterile evidence table. But here's the problem. When the questions started, the answers stopped. Requests for the full 911 and dispatch recordings were denied or delayed. Reporters who asked about the missing 30 seconds of audio were told the clip had been released in full. When independent journalists requested the autopsy under state transparency laws, they were told there was none, and that was that. And the media? Many outlets repeated the official line verbatim, running segments that focused on Charlie Kirk's political legacy rather than the forensic details of his death. In other words, the narrative was managed, not necessarily falsified, but streamlined, shaped, and delivered in a way that left little room for alternative explanations. And that's what makes people suspicious. Because when a story is this big, this public, the truth should not be hard to find. This is about more than just Charlie Kirk. Because if a man can be shot in broad daylight, in the middle of a college campus, and leave this world without a single autopsy, without a single wound path documented, without one independent confirmation of how he died, then what does that mean for the rest of us? If 30 seconds of dispatch audio can disappear into thin air, 30 seconds that might hold the names, the orders, the truth, what does that mean for public trust? This isn't about left or right. It's about process. It's about accountability. It's about whether the truth can still survive inside a system that seems willing to bury it. R/Payson. Charlie Kirk wasn't just a political figure. He was a husband, a son, a friend. Someone who deserved the dignity of a full investigation, a full forensic record, a case file that would stand up in any court. Instead, what we have is a patchwork, a rushed narrative, a missing autopsy, and a whisper on a tape that feels more like a warning than a clue. And that's why this case matters. Because if we stay silent now, we are teaching those in power that silence works. If you're still watching right now, it means you care about the truth. And that matters, because cases like this only stay alive if we refuse to let them be forgotten. Hit subscribe right now, because this is not the last time we're going to talk about Charlie Kirk's case. The more of us there are, the louder we get, the harder it becomes for anyone to bury the truth. And I want to hear from you. What do you think happened in those missing 30 seconds? Do you believe this was a lone gunman, a botched investigation, or something far darker? Drop your theory in the comments, and don't just comment once, reply to each other. Build a conversation. Because the more we talk about this, the more pressure we put on investigators to release what they're hiding. And share this video. Post it in group chats, forums, wherever people care about accountability. Because one voice can be ignored, but thousands can't. We're not done yet. This case is still open. Not in court, but in the court of public opinion. And you are part of that jury.